Can we please settle down? Even people at the back, please. Please maybe settle down. So with your permission, we'll start. Thank you. Honorable Minister IT, Industry and MAUD, Government of Telangana, Shri KTR Ramarao Garu, Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, IAS, Principal Secretary, Industry and Commerce and IT, Electronic and Communication Department, Government of Telangana, my good friend Deepak Bagla, Managing Director and CEO Invest India, who's joining us virtually, Mr. C.K. Ranganathan, Chairman, CII Southern Region and Chairman and Managing Director, Kevin Care Private Limited, who's also joining us virtually. Dr. Krishna Ila, Chairman and Managing Director, Bharat Biotech International Limited. My good friend Vagesh Dikshit, Vice Chairman, CII Telangana and Managing Director, Alpha India Private Limited. Dignitaries and officials of the government, captains of the industry, friends of the media, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. It is my privilege to welcome you all to the annual meeting of CII Telangana and the Telangana Leadership Summit with the theme India at 75, Catalyzing Change for a New India. During the beginning of the year, we set out with the objectives of working closely with the government, industry and institutions to encourage sustainable and inclusive growth in the state and enhancing the competitiveness of the industry. But as you all know, the entire world and the nation had to go through the second wave of this black swan event, COVID. All the planning and strategies were changed suddenly, and safety and health became the top priority of any individual. We had to go through many challenges with respect to healthcare infrastructure such as oxygen supply, shortage of manpower, drugs, and hospital beds. Fortunately, the impact of the second and third wave on the real economy and the industry was limited in comparison to the first wave, thanks to the vaccination, learning from the first wave, and measures taken by the government. I must especially appreciate the government of Telangana for their proactive leadership, sir, because of which industry has fared well and functioned well in the state during the COVID, in comparison to several other states, including the other southern states. A big round of applause for them. The leadership of the state government is quite visionary and has driven one of the youngest state of the country to be more progressive and dynamic in the state in the country. With their vision, they have made Telangana a model state for industry in the country and brought significant investments, providing right ecosystems for industries to flourish. As we all know that COVID-19 pandemic is a crisis that has shaken up the entire world economy. Every once in a while, we are faced with this event that gets entrenched in history and changes the course of the future generations. It forces business leaders to rethink and reevaluate the overall approach on how to face a crisis. But the businesses by nature are problem solvers, and it is said that every crisis there is an opportunity. Today, many leaders have redefined the organization goal and objectives, reimagined their business model. It is interesting to note that many have prioritized health and safety of employees, mobilization of their workforce, fostering engagement, and building a remote and sustainable business continuity plan. Leadership is not just about managing business, but also being compassionate and giving a helping hand to the needy. Helping society is one of the prime agenda of CII. Hence, during the pandemic, CII has successfully engaged with the government and worked with members, NGOs, health workers, and some of the key stakeholders in helping the needy. Engaging and nurturing the future leaders is one of the main focus of CII. Through various initiatives, CII has been able to focus on developing the competitiveness of the industry in the state and encourage the leaders of industry in their journey, cutting across in several industrial sectors. The Leadership Summit is focusing on catalyzing change for the new India at the juncture of India at its 75th year of independence. There are multiple sessions which are going to be discussed on the role of leadership. Sorry. Once among them is the leadership in rapid, unpredictable, paradoxical, and tangled world and driving growth through competitiveness and sustainability. Senior leaders from industry from various sectors would deliberate on their journey and share their learnings in terms of leading from the front in a volatile condition and drive the organization with competitiveness and sustainability. Another interesting session is on taking the legacy forward and empowering the next generation in family business. The younger leaders need to learn a lot from the leaders who have left a legacy, and it'll be an interesting session for many young leaders. There will be a round table of Consulate General on connecting Telangana to the globe, Consul General from US, British Deputy High Commissioner, France and Indonesia will be deliberating on the possible collaboration and engagement between the industry and the respective nations. There are several thought leaders who are sharing their experience. I hope there will be a lot of learning during the day. Before I conclude, I'd like to take this opportunity to let you know that CII Telangana is committed to be a partner in the growth story of Bangaru, Telangana, and we are willing to extend our full cooperation in the process of accelerating growth through competitiveness and entrepreneurship, sustainability, and inclusiveness, and catalyzing change on the new India. With these few words, I welcome you all to the public session of CII annual meeting and the Leadership Summit. I wish this program a grand success. Thank you very much. May I now invite Dr. Krishna Ila to deliver the special address. Of course, everyone knows Dr. Krishna Ila. Thank you, sir, for joining us.
Thank you, all of you. I think Honorable Minister and our Jayesh Ranjan and all the members here, Rilesh, good luck to you. I've not prepared any speech, just relax all of you. I'm not going to give you have a great opportunity and all that. So I'm not prepared. I always talk from my heart. So I don't prepare anything in my speeches. So I'm 67, so I don't want to live for somebody. I'll live for my heart, what believes in it. Okay, that's important. I'll tell you, innovations happens on two things. One, startups. The second happens, not a big company cannot innovate anywhere in the world. It is shown Pfizer cannot innovate. No other company, GSK cannot innovate, Sanofi cannot innovate. Only some other innovation can be commercialized by big one. But no big companies will never innovate. The same way, you look at young state is always a dynamic. You are not carrying forward a lot of legacy of the bigger problem in the state. And I think one thing, the leadership in Telangana has facilitated. Many people will praise our KTR and all that, for getting a good book with him. But I can tell you one thing, honest statement. This one state never interfered in the industry's growth, never interfered in any problem. I think the most important, what we should look at it, we don't get help also, it doesn't matter. But as entrepreneur, if they don't interfere, that's the greatest gift can be given by government, honestly. That's my humble statement. Because, I can praise our minister, but that is not the truth. But our truth is to believe in what we believe in it. And it's true, every entrepreneur here are not been humiliated, tortured, or bogged by anybody. But I will tell you another third point. And I think third point, innovations will come from Telangana. It's not that because our minister is here, I'm praising this. No. Please give me the I will give you 3-4 examples of Bharat Biotech innovation as a startup. I was a startup in 97. I was not a big company. I was a startup from agrarian family. And at the same time, what Telangana government is encouraging the startup, what will happen next 5 years? I'll give a few examples of ours. And I think first new molecule from the world, typhoid conjugate vaccine, came from Bharat Biotech and that from Telangana. Okay? And after the separation of the state, the first new molecule came from Telangana, typhoid conjugate, first time in the world. And that has completed a human challenge in Oxford and effectiveness studies in 6-7 countries all over the world. And that speaks that the innovation can happen from India. Many people will not believe that because no Indian company copies. That's what the perception always we have in our mind. Please change that mind. It's happening differently now, today the world. And I'm telling you, chikungunya. We are now funded by CEPI, which is the phase 3 trial in Thailand, Colombia, and Malaysia, and the Philippines, and India, and funded by CEPI, and that will be the first vaccine in the world, again from Telangana. And third, Zika vaccine, first global patent in the world. Why I am saying this one? We are the only company, as a startup, believed in the neglected disease will turn into pandemic in the future. And we've been working right from the inception of the company that any day neglected disease will be a pandemic, and we need to be prepared. So coming to my conclusion of the speech is very simple. And I think Telangana is well prepared to handle any pandemic in the future much better. We are also developing, a lot of other Indian companies are developing a lot of platform technologies. I predict that next pandemic, if it comes, it will be in the animal side on food security issues, if at all happens. If it happens, we don't want that, but if it happens, the likelihood is probably the food security will be another limiting factor which we should look at it. And I think as a manufacturers, as a state, I think we are well prepared than anybody else. I think you look at containment facility, biosecurity, containment, BSL 3 facility, only first one in the world is right in Telangana, right in Shamirpet, right in Genome Valley. That speaks that we are the first facility in the world. We have even better than Wuhan lab is only a lab. It is not production facility. So the first production facility is right in Telangana. I think we are geared up as a country, as a state. And as a state, and I'm telling honestly, I'm proud to say that in front of all the people here, government never interfered. They were there all the time. Even when I have some problem with the TSIC on some assigned land, they said, we'll come and help you. We'll help you. They came directly to us, I'm telling honestly. I'm actually, company people are lethargic people. I've seen one thing I'm telling you. Company people are lethargic today. Company people become complacent. And employees also become complacent. Yeah, if you push game, I'll leave this job and go to Aurobindo. And Aurobindo will push him, you go to Reddy Lab. So you people have taken strategy, but government is not like that. Government is sincerely committed to things, but I think as industry, we are still not serious a lot of things. And I think we need to get serious on issues, what is required, what happens in our organizations, what happens to our human resources, and what goes wrong with our human resources, our inefficiency, should be looked at very seriously instead of looking at the government inefficiency. And that is very important. And I think startup is an amazing strategy by the government has done. And I think we'll beat any state in the world probably in the next 2-3 years. And number one. Number three, I think people CII should focus on agriculture and food processing industry. Very important because we predict India is the only country can feed the world. And I think in that game, agrarian requires help. And I think we all want to be comfort zone in the 5-star hotel in Kakatiya and all that. That is what we are looking at it. And I think we need to look at everybody has got a CSR responsibility to help in agrarian community. This is only time in the pandemic, only agriculture has never grown down. It has grown up. And I think the Indian farmers have done a tremendous job to the country's progress. And I think we are grateful to all the Indian farmers of this country. What we can add value to the producers? How can we add from Nizamabad turmeric? How can we add value to that? And how can we export 20-30% of the turmeric to other part of the world so that the market price of turmeric can go up in Nizamabad? And I think we are all entrepreneurs, genius people. And I think you need to look at strategically and put small. If you can't do the business, you put your money into some startup who can do the job. It's not that you have to be selfishly do everything yourself. You can do with some other partnership. I think look at it, partnership is the only game to succeed, and I wish you luck. Thank you very much for giving the opportunity.
So thank you, Dr. Krishna Ila, Garu, for your this thing. Having worked with GSK, and working with CIPLA, I can fully appreciate what you have said. And we'll continue work on agriculture, you being agriculturist yourself. So may I now invite Mr. C.K. Ranganathan to deliver the special address. Over to you, C.K. Yeah, please. Excuse me. C.K., you are on mute.
Thank you, Samir. Honorable Minister Shri K.T. Ramarao, Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, IAS, Principal Secretary, Government of Telangana, Mr. Deepak Ubagla, Dr. Krishna Ella, Samir and Vagesh. Thanks for the opportunity. We are today living in a very complex and a competitive business world. The business, this thing, if you have to look at knowledge, strategy, and execution more, it is what we are living in. Whether the company in a competitive environment, who is more knowledgeable, how do you harness the knowledge to convert into brilliant strategies? It is not just strategies alone, but how do we execute those strategies? Are we able to execute it flawlessly is a very, very important thing. So if we are masters in continuously harnessing the knowledge of the company, it is not accidentally sending somebody to some seminars and so on, but a very well planned knowledge, this thing, if we can enhance the knowledge of our own team members and also create a culture where free flow of strategies, free flow of ideas are able to come and able to execute it, I think we are game. And when it comes to the kind of this thing in terms of CEO's role, very leadership, very important thing. Creating a culture that is how do you make the desirable cultures which will be responsible for the company's success, not only in India but globally. That's a very, very important thing. And leadership always, I think, is a very, very important role. Is this the COVID times? It has created a lot of challenges for us. I think we have emerged far more successfully. We are at the fag end of the pandemic period. This time I would like to say that leadership is responsible for developing active foresight. How industry will evolve, how competition will evolve. I think that's a very, very important role. And if you don't simulate that, and we will be caught by surprises. And that's a very, very active role leadership need to play. And also an important role, very successful organization across the world, the middle and junior management run the day-to-day, and top management, the leadership players, are mostly looking at only spend about 25 to 30% of their time in running day-to-day or enhancing, facilitating, or solving problems of the day-to-day to achieve these short-term goals. And they are actively, they most of the time, 70% of the time is spent in inventing the future. How do you invent the future? It is how you kind of this thing is able to prepare and invest time in creating a future, a clear plan, coming out with brilliant ideas. These are areas in terms of leadership need to focus. And while I was talking about culture, adaptability is a very, very important thing. How do we adapt in a continuously, in a very evolving, a very dynamic world? The challenges are many. I can say the way the digital challenges now, and if you don't embrace the digital technologies, you will be extinct. And that's very, very important. But many companies are thinking that, okay, slowly it will happen. But the competition is going to eat you away just like that. What was thought a digital technologies used to be an enabler, it's now a very core of a competitive edge. And that I think it's important that the leadership focuses on that. Being agile and nimble is a very important ask. And that is also, I think, would go a long, long way. I think we as leadership at the helm of affairs can constantly look forward to being very, very competitive and take India to the next level. I think we are very capable and we can do things. Last but not the least, I would like to also join Dr. Krishna in complimenting Telangana government. Our minister, honorable minister, I would like to say, because we are seeing across southern states and across India, Telangana is the one where least disturbances, lockdowns and other things, less restrictions, and most of the most productive days have come from Telangana government, and the industry is extremely happy. And thank you very much for that, Minister. Thanks a lot. So I conclude my speech. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Siken, for your address and taking us through several aspects of leadership in this VUCA world. You absolutely said it right. Organizations have to change, and digitalization, sustainability, and being agile and nimble is the forefront. And you, as a leader for the industry, has shown the path to us. I would now request my good friend, Mr. Deepak Bagla, who joined us virtually to deliver his address. Deepak, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Samir. Morning, Mr. Minister. As you know, it's no longer a surprise that you have admirers and fans, not just in Invest India, but I guess across the entire global investing community. And I must really, completely, you really make us proud. And the man sitting on your right is an absolute, Jayesh is right there, he's a Pied Piper. Mr. Minister, whenever we have an investor and we send him a message at any point of time, you know, the kind of response we get, it is right there and immediate. And that sort of explains the leadership, the culture which you've set, and more importantly, the points of success which we are seeing already from one of the youngest states in the country. I must thank Mr. Ranganathan. I think the leadership point you picked up, Mr. Ranganathan, very critical. And we are seeing that. The leadership which we are seeing in the state is the cause of the success, and I'll speak a little about that. And Dr. Ella, thank you very much for the points you rose about innovation, about the global position of India, and especially so in the midst of this unprecedented lockdown. But I must say one thing. I actually believe that the role of the government can be that of a very strong enabler. It's not that the government doesn't have a role where it comes to industrial growth. And that's where you've seen the example of what is happening in your state, the leadership, the success points which has happened. More importantly, even if you look at it, I think today the case study of startups is now being looked as a case study across business schools in the world on how efficient, impactful policy making together with stakeholders can actually create magic. And Mr. Minister, I must tell you, the person sitting on your left, Mr. Goel, Samir, ever since college we knew he would be the one who would make us all proud, and he continues doing that. So congratulations, Samir, and thank you for the excellent work which you are doing for all of us, and more importantly, for getting us all together. And Mr. Dikshit, we look forward to hearing from you. But sir, now on some of the comments which I have. I know we've been through the worst of times, but there are also some of the best of times we can look forward to from here. It was brutal the past 24 months, but I think the time has come now to look forward. And now from the Invest India perspective, let me just share some thoughts. And especially on Telangana, because this is a place and a state and the leadership we look forward to as we are moving towards a $10 trillion economy by 2030. The GDP of Telangana today, sir, is about $170 billion. That means if I rank it globally, it's anywhere between 55 and 60 in the world, ahead of Kuwait, I must say, just catching up on Qatar, Hungary, and if I may just add and make it topical, just a little behind Ukraine as we speak. But I think this is a juggernaut which is now ready to propel and take forward its stake in a much larger way. In the Indian context, number 6, you're behind Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, Karnataka. I must tell you, West Bengal is catching up very fast with you. But I'll tell you what is in the strength of Telangana as it stands. Look at the growth rate of Telangana, and if I look at it for the past 5 years, 2016 over 14%, 17 13.9, 18 again 13.9, 19 again ahead of 14%, 14.7%, 20 11.3% even in the midst of that lockdown. What am I trying to get at? If I look at even an average of what you've done over the past 5 years, and let's look at a little over 13%, we are looking at a GDP of close to $300 billion by 2030. That means Telangana will be adding, it's 450 odd billion by 2030. That means they'll be adding about $300 billion to the bottom lines and the balance sheets of all those who will be joining Telangana in this journey. And that's where I talk about the leadership which has been created there. Look at the ease of doing business rankings. A remarkable jump. One of the few states which has jumped from number 13 to number 3. And that explains the focus of the leadership to make that investor journey easier. In fact, and this is where I often tell Jayesh, and I compliment you, Mr. Minister, and your entire team, you have one of the most effective single windows in the country. When we were trying to create the national single window, which you know we launched just a couple of months ago, and CII has been helping us immensely in trying to get it going. We had some of our learnings from your single window. And hopefully, if very soon we can bring the national single window to the same level of efficiency as you have with you and pick up some of those points, I think India will be a completely new destination where the global investor community is going to be looking at it. So I really have to compliment the kind of efforts and initiatives which have already happened in Telangana. And we are seeing the results. I mean, be it auto companies, be it chemical companies, across the entire spectrum. Let me just give you a quick example. 30th March 2021, even in the midst of the most unprecedented lockdown in human history, we closed with an FDI of over $80 billion, the highest ever FDI we've got in our history. But what's interesting is, our FDI went up by over 10% at a time when global FDI decreased by over 35%. In fact, we were one of the few countries, probably the only one of the top 2 or 3, which moved its ranking from number 8 to number 5. But more interestingly, and by the way, most of this FDI came in the open route, which sort of explains that we are one of the most open economies on the planet. But Minister, what is very interesting of this time we got our FDI from 89 countries of the world. They trusted you with the future you are bringing into this country. And it came across 63 sectors. We have one of the widest, broadest base of opportunity which is today available in the world. And most interestingly for me, this time it came across 30 states and union territories. It's again getting broad-based. And the story of people who are leading by example and setting best example for other states to come up is Telangana being one of those. And that also explains the startup policy. Mr. Minister, one of the best successes from my perspective of our startup policy is not just the unicorns. You know, 2020 we had a unicorn every 30 days. 2021 we had a unicorn every 10 days. This year we've already had a unicorn every 5 days. But that's not where the story ends. The story is that out of 739 odd districts of India, today over 650 of them have a registered startup with the government of India. The new engine of growth of India, of the new India, is now ready to be bottom up, with a participation from each and every citizen of this country. And for that, we thank the leadership. And Mr. Minister, we thank you for setting best-in-class examples where we all learn from and help others. And here I also must compliment you and your team again. I remember when we were doing the startup policies for India and even the ease of doing business, we had paired states together to help other states which were more aspirational to come up the curve. And you had paired yourself with another set of states, and you've helped those states come up the curve too. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the new India. So Samir, thank you very much for getting me. I take it back to you and I end with these comments. But I really have to thank you and CII for the partnership they have had with us and the support which they continue to provide to take this journey forward. Thank you again, and back to you.
Thank you, Deepak. Really pleasure to listen to you, and really proud that you could make time. You are at the control room, I know, and you are now ensuring that all our students who are in your train do get back safely, a lot of them from Telangana. So thank you very much, and also thank you to success of Invest India. You have had global applause thanks to your leadership. Thank you once again, Deepak. Really appreciate your time. A big round of applause for him. May I now invite Mr. Jayesh Ranjan to deliver the special address. Over to you, Jayesh.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, Dr. Krishna Ella, Mr. Samir Goel, Mr. Vagish Dikshit, Mr. Jayesh, Mr. Ranganathan, Mr. Bagla, various past chairpersons of CII, senior industry leaders, ladies and gentlemen. This is the time of the year when this annual ritual of leadership change happens in CII. So let me begin by congratulating and complimenting Mr. Goel and his team for their able stewardship during this very difficult times. They have been of enormous help and support to the government. So my personal thanks to you, Samir ji. And at the same time, I would also like to welcome Mr. Vagish Dikshit and his team and look forward to a very exciting partnership in this coming year. This is also the right time for me to mention a few important priorities of the government in which we require deeper commitment and engagement from the CII. Not to suggest that CII has not been forthcoming in these matters, but I would request for much more strong and deeper engagement. The first thing which comes to my mind is, Honorable Minister keeps talking about it, is our young workforce and the people who are on the verge of joining the workforce. Actually, Minister Sir has given a nice term for them. He calls them think force. And that is something which we feel very positive and optimistic about, because the size of the young population in Telangana, their aspirations are very, very strong. But we all have a collective responsibility in ensuring that they are properly skilled and trained. And for the last few years, for the last 4 or 5 years, we have been working with, let us say, the universities, the State Higher Education Council, CII itself, of introducing a very strong program of internships and apprenticeships. We have reached somewhere. It is not to say that we have not made any progress at all, but a lot of ground needs to be covered. And since Mr. Dikshit, you are taking over and you have yourself led from the front when it comes to matters of internship, apprenticeships, etc., I would like this culture to be permeated across all members of CII. And during your tenure, I would like CII actually to give some kind of a commitment or take a pledge that every member company will adopt or will accommodate X number of student interns, X number of apprentices from the nearby ITIs, polytechnics, colleges, universities. And now today, we don't even have to confine ourselves only to the state universities. We have very good private universities also. So even that catchment is available today to the industry to accommodate as interns and apprenticeships. And there are, of course, existing laws, rules, etc. We have also done, just before COVID, I remember we had prepared a very detailed, elaborate map of the catchments, like which colleges, which institutions can be tagged to which industry. So once you settle down, I would like to revive this idea and work again with you. Another very important priority which Mr. Bagla spoke about, Dr. Krishna also spoke about, is about promoting entrepreneurship. Many of you would know that CII has chosen the headquarters of its National Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation at Hyderabad. It is currently operating from T-Hub, of course, because of the situation over the last 2 years. Its activities have slowed down, but I expect now for them to really take off. And Mr. Chris Gopalakrishnan, who was instrumental in getting that center to Hyderabad, in fact, he was sharing that there was tremendous pressure on him to start that center in Bangalore. Of course, as you know, for very unfair reasons, whenever people think about startup, they automatically think of Bangalore, which, as I personally feel, is extremely unfair. But for various reasons, and since Mr. Gopalakrishnan himself comes from Bangalore, there was tremendous pressure on him. But he recognized that the kind of government support, the ecosystem building that the Telangana government has done, no one else has done, not just in the south, but anywhere in the country. And that is something which Mr. Bagla was also mentioning. He was appreciating the fact that way back in 2016, we came up with a very progressive policy on promoting entrepreneurship, promoting innovation. So the whole purpose of, the whole objective of that CII center is to ensure that every member company adopts some startups and basically provide them that corporate connect, which is very important in validating their idea, which is important in scaling up. Maybe some kind of seed funding also can be made available from the corporate. So that is how the center has been set up. Of course, it is a national center. It's just a coincidence that it is headquartered in Hyderabad. But I remember when we were having early discussions with the CII national team led by Mr. Gopalakrishna, I had assured him, I told him that corporates in Telangana will be in the forefront. Your vision of all CII members across the country working with startups definitely is a very ambitious vision, but we will be the first in Telangana to make it happen. So I would again request that at least all the corporate members, and this is regardless of size. I know that there are many mid-scale companies, small companies also who are members of CII. There are many service companies also who are members of CII. It is regardless of size. Size has no relevance at all when it comes to supporting startups. And it is not that funds are the only way in which you can support. In fact, your leadership can spend time with them, mentor them, give them ideas about how to scale up, how to get connected to market, how to get into a network. So multiple ways in which startups can be supported. And this is again something which I would request you to really fast track in this coming year. Another very important priority, some of you might have heard Honorable Minister or read about it in the newspapers. Honorable Minister spoke at the Harvard India conference few days ago, in which he again highlighted how sustainability is a very important part of our economic development. I mean, as the data has been explained by Mr. Bagla, our growth story is phenomenal, but it is not at the cost of sustainability. Every step that we have taken is underlying sustainability. And this is again a third request to CII. Why it's not to say that you haven't been doing it. In fact, we appreciate the kind of support you have given to Harita Haram, and now you are going to give awards also. But there are various other aspects of sustainability. For example, promoting electric mobility, taking care of water bodies. I see Mr. Rajanna here in the audience. In fact, many NASCOM and HYCIA companies have actually gone ahead and adopted water bodies. They have adopted lakes. And today, more than a dozen lakes, particularly in the western part of the city, have been beautified. Their contamination levels have drastically gone down. They have been made very community friendly. But we have not seen too many industries, non-IT companies, taking up these kind of programs. So I would request other CII members also to take up very important sustainability goals that the government has. So apart from the regular support to businesses, to supply chains, to logistics, to MSMEs, which is business as usual for us. We will always be working with CII on all those fronts. But these three important priorities, in my opinion, are foundational. These are fundamental to provide good skills and training to our young workforce, to ensure that entrepreneurs get much more opportunities in Telangana, and to partner with us on all our sustainability agenda. So once again, good wishes to you, Mr. Dikshit, and all the CII members. Let us have a very, very promising and very flourishing year ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jayeshji. Let me just put on behalf, you have been the one point contact for the industry. And really a big round of applause for him. And whatever he says, he makes it happen. Thank you very much. May I now invite CII colleague Satya Aruna to take over, please, for the awards.
Thank you, Chairman. Honorable Minister, Telangana to Harita Haram is one of the excellent initiatives of Government of Telangana, which has paid rich dividends. CII had the privilege of working with the state government. We signed an MOU 6 years back when Mr. Jayesh Ranjan and our chairperson, Ms. Vanitha Datla, signed an MOU. And sir, in the last 6 years, CII members and other stakeholders have planted over 89 lakh saplings in the state. And they have a survival rate of more than 85%, sir. We have very clear evidences of photograph and other details where the saplings you have planted have been growing over a period of time. This year, sir, between August and November 2021, 21 lakhs 46,000 saplings have been planted. And today we would be presenting mementos to 23 organizations who have taken part in this initiative in 2021. We heartily thank all the member companies who have participated in this initiative and request the Honorable Minister to kindly present mementos to these green warriors. May I also request Mr. Jayesh Ranjan and other dignitaries on the dais to kindly join the Minister in giving away the mementos. May I request the awardees to kindly come from my right-hand side, receive the memento from the Honorable Minister, and go out towards my left-hand side, please.
Thank you, sir. So I would be announcing the companies one after the other. You can kindly come and receive the awards. So the first organization to receive the award is ITC Limited Paperboards and Specialty Papers Division. I would request Mr. Sanjay Singh and his team to kindly come and receive the award, please. Yeah. The next team to be ready is Office of NSS JNTUH. I would request ITC team to kindly come and receive the award, please. The next team to be ready, Office of NSS JNTUH, please. The next team to receive the award is Office of NSS JNTUH. I would request Vijay Lakshmi to kindly come and receive the award, please. The next team to be ready is Pragati Green Meadows and Resorts Limited. I would request Pragati